Alright, so let's all take a look at this graph for a second. And now let's picture the world as 100 people with the same distribution of wealth. The richest person in the world would own 34.6% of the nation's net worth. The next four would own 27.3%, and then the next five would own 11.2%. So, out of 100 people, the 10 richest people would own 73.1% of our nation's net worth, according to Wolf 2010. So this is essentially still how our nation's net worth is distributed today. And you might wonder, maybe we'll let the rich be rich. If we're doing okay, that's fine. If the poor's not doing so well, they'll work their way up. This is just how life is supposed to be. That's not the case. Wealth distribution and income equality today has severe effects on our lives. So, let's change slides. It is just being a little glitchy. Cool. So, this shows the correlation between wealth distribution and income equality and the number of private security guards hired in certain areas. Now, it is measured by something called the Gini coefficient, which I'll explain later. But basically, what we can see is as income inequality gets worse and worse, there's a direct correlation with more and more private security guards. This shows that as income inequality becomes bigger and bigger, people feel less and less safe in the areas that they live. Now, the Gini coefficient basically, it's just a lot of really complicated math, but to explain it to just any random person, if you were to have, if all income was distributed equally, then the Gini coefficient would be 0. And then in the condition of maximum inequality, the Gini coefficient would be 1. So as we get closer to 1, as it becomes more and more unequal, so the richer becomes super rich and the poor becomes super poor, there is a bigger need for private security guards, which ultimately shows that places get less and less safe, which definitely has an effect on our lives. Now, this is a graph of benefits that workers get, whether they are in the lowest 25% or in the highest 25%. Now, you might think that we all deserve the same benefits. If we're poor or if we're rich, we're all humans, and we all should have health care, dental care, eye care. But as we can see, as higher wage workers get richer, they have a significant amount more of paid holidays, paid vacations, paid sick leave, medical care, and retirement, which is not fair to the rest of us who are not ultra wealthy. And this is according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, throughout my life, I've been fortunate enough to have parents who made sure I'm well fed, made sure I've had a roof over my head, have the resources I need in my classes, and even disposable income so that if there's something I want to pursue, a passion I have, that I have the opportunity to pursue that. And honestly, I can't pretend like I really know any of you guys outside of this classroom. I don't know what home situations you're in, but I'm going to make the assumption that a lot of you guys, or some of you guys, are generally in the same position I'm in. Obviously not super, super rich, but, comfortable. So as I read these statistics to you guys and just show you these graphs, it might not hit as hard as at home as it does to other people. I know when I read it, it's kind of hard to relate because personally I didn't grow up in like the lowest 10%. But very soon we're going to be out in the real world, and we're not going to have other people supporting us. We're going to have to support ourselves, and these are problems we're going to have to face, and these are injustices that we're going to have to deal with. And even though it wasn't our generation causing it, it's our generation that's going to have to fix it. So again, it's our safety at stake, it's our health at stake, and it's our futures at stake. So, fortunately, there is a hope, because it has not always been this way. As we go back to 1980, we can see that although there was a unequal, not everyone has the equal amount of shared wealth, we do live in a capitalistic society. That's never going to be the case. It wasn't extreme. But as we get closer and closer to modern day, it gets worse and worse. So, we need to backtrack and figure out what we did to get to that stage and how we can get back to that stage. So, as we look to our future, we can see that it's only likely that we are going to get more and more of a spread between what the middle and lower class is getting paid and what the highest class is getting paid. So it is really, really important that we do something about this. So in order to solve this problem, we kind of need to see what causes it. Now, I'm going to touch onto a few reasons why we have such massive gaps in our income equality. First off is corporate lobbying. Now, lobbying, as defined by dictionary.com, is the process of seeking influence, especially from a politician or a public official, on an issue. Now, if we look up here, we can see the 10 companies that spent the most money on lobbying between 2008 and 2010. And as we can see, 10 of them got tax refunds, and Federal Express paid a tax rate of under 1%. So people with money are going to political officials and using their money to influence these people to make more money. So it's an ongoing cycle. Another reason we have a huge difference in our income equality is CEO pay. Now, if we look back to 1965, CEOs didn't make that much more than the average worker, but as we get closer and closer, we can see that the CEOs can make upwards to 383.4 times more than the average income of one of their workers, which is super unfair. And tax loopholes, a third reason why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. So, the wealthiest people tend to make their money off of investments. And during the Bush administration, there was a law passed that these certain investments get taxed at really low percentages. So people in the middle class tend to get income tax around 30-something, 40-something% of their salary, and these are getting taxed at 15%. So as we go up to the top 1%, goes to 22.8%, but 0.1 goes down, 0.01 goes down, and 0.001, the super, super, super rich are barely getting taxed. They're getting taxed almost at the same rate as the top 20%, which is pretty crazy. So, how to solve it? We can sign petitions, which are going on. Obviously, get informed, know what's happening, be educated. That goes in line with voting for representatives who don't have their special interests, which is honestly more difficult than it sounds because people will say just about anything to get hired. And even get involved in politics so you can be the change you want to see in the world. In conclusion, This is definitely a real problem with severe consequences. It's getting worse and worse, and we are getting closer and closer to facing it head on. We should not have to live in a world where the ultra-rich are favored and the lower and middle class have to fight to desperately make a living, and we should do everything in our power to fix it. Thank you.